One of the biggest reasons couples fight is around finances. In fact, 38% report financial problems as a cause of divorce. So I wanted to go over what we do as a couple in order to go over our money situation. In fact, at the start of the new year, we actually really did a recap of our income, our net worth, our expenses, everything like that. So I wanted to go over this today. So just as a note, before we got married, we did have separate accounts, but now we're really doing everything under our joint account. So we have a business account for our online business stuff, a business account for our real estate, and then we have a joint account for our personal stuff. We still have our separate accounts for our personal use, but we don't really use them anymore. We basically just go into our joint accounts. Now, the first thing that you guys should do is look over your net worth. I generally look over our net worth every couple of weeks so that I can see how we're doing financially. In order for you guys to look over your net worth, you can use an app called Empower. It basically integrates with your bank accounts. You guys can check it out in the link in the description below. It'll automatically generate for you so that you can see your net worth number, your cash flow, your income, all of that. But I like to look over it manually as well. So what I do is I track everything in a spreadsheet as well, especially because we have real estate. I want to kind of like look over those numbers. Empower does connect with Zillow, but I still like to look at it manually. Basically put the date at the top, and every new column is the new net worth number based on that date. And then on the left side is kind of the accounts in the different real estate, the different liabilities I have and things like that.
So what we do is we periodically check what's in our checking accounts, our savings accounts, our high yield savings accounts. We have different brokerages where we have different stocks in. We have 401ks, IRAs, and then of course we have the real estate. So we calculate how much the properties are currently worth as well as what our debt is, because every month we're paying down the mortgage. So that debt number changes every month as well.
Yeah, so this ends up being a ton of rows for us because we have a ton of different accounts. We have a ton of different real estate properties, and that's why it's really good to continuously check these numbers. I wouldn't say you should check it all the time, because you don't want to be too into the details. You know, when you invest, especially, you want to go long term. You don't want to like make any emotional decisions, right? However, it is good to have that awareness of your finances. So I want to go over our net worth percentage breakdown here.
So we have almost 70% in real estate. This is our net worth, meaning the value of the properties minus all of our debt, so all of our mortgages, is 70% of our net worth. The next biggest one are going to be our regular stocks in our taxable accounts. That's 14.5%. And the next one is our tax advantage accounts. So this one's more like the retirement ones, our 401k, IRAs, SEP IRAs. That one is 11.6%. So the next one we have is cash in our checking accounts. That one's around 1.7%. We also have a similar amount in our high yield savings account. That one's also around 1.7%. And then finally, we have around 1% in crypto. So as you can tell, most of our money is in real estate. It gives us passive income. It appreciates over time. The taxable accounts are for like our stocks that we have access to if you want to sell and buy more real estate or something like that. Tax advantage ones, of course, these are ones that are just our Roth IRAs that we leave there. We don't have to worry about them for a very long time. Cash or liquid funds that we can use for daily expenses and emergency funds. And then 1% for crypto is more so for fund money, just because why not?
Yep, at this moment, I would say we're putting more and more into our taxable accounts, and real estate kind of slowing that down, especially because we are traveling. So I think that like this is an important discussion you should have with your partner of like how you want to allocate your assets. Now, another thing you need to do is check what is working and what isn't. So when you're investing, it is important for you to rebalance periodically. Now, for example, with our real estate portfolio, we actually ended up selling 6 units. If you guys haven't seen that episode, make sure you check that episode out. I go over the reasons for selling the 6 units.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, for those 6 units, we felt like the expenses were really high. They were consistently having issues. So it's best to sell those off instead of trying to continue to put money into it over and over again.
Exactly. The great thing is these properties did appreciate over time. We were able to sell them at a higher price, and then we were able to use those funds to pay down our debt.
And because we were able to pay off that mortgage earlier, it worked out in our favor because those loans were commercial loans with an adjustable rate mortgage that would have adjusted in 1 or 2 years anyway. So when we got them, they were around 4.3%, and they probably would have jumped to 6 or 7%. So paying off that mortgage early is actually beneficial for us.
So going over your investments, seeing what is performing worse and what is doing well is really important, and also talking to your partner about what your priorities are. So with our real estate strategy, we decided, hey, let's maybe focus more on appreciation now. We have like a lot of cash flowing properties. properties. Let's look into properties that are higher quality and maybe do Airbnb, stuff like that. So these are discussions you want to have with your partner with your investments. So now you also need to go over expenses. So what we realized this year was that there are times when I want to make a purchase and then he's like, no, that's a stupid idea. Or like maybe it's vice versa. And the way I deal with it is I'm very like, oh, I want to please him. So I'm like, okay, like that's fine. We won't do it. Whereas for him, he's like, I'm gonna do it, right? So then like I got kind of annoyed because I was like, how come I don't get to just do that for myself? So then what we agreed to was kind of having like fun money. So essentially there's like a budget with no questions asked money of like, all right, I'm vetoing this, I'm gonna be able to spend. So now that we have that, I think we get in less arguments over these types of things. So essentially you and your partner are gonna have different values at times. And in order to mitigate the amount of conflicts, you can have a certain thing like that where you have a lot of money for your own personal use, same with him. As long as you don't keep secrets or anything like that, you have to make sure you discuss what you're spending, discuss how you're managing your money. Another thing we did was we looked over our income numbers for the past year. Now, because we are self-employed, it is very different versus having a salary. You already know what your income number is. But if you do have side hustles and things like that, that's also income that you need to look over and go over with your partner, how much income you guys are both providing.
We have many different sources of income. Because we're content creators, we get money from affiliates where we get commission for any time one of our audience members, buys a product or service that we're referring to. We get sponsorships from brands who want to work with us so that we can promote their services. We also have our own course sales from our own products that we have. And of course, we get AdSense from making content on the different platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And besides that, we also have revenue from our income from our rental properties. Sometimes we also get paid for consultation calls. Like somebody wants to ask me a question about their plan for real estate investing or what they can do to become financially free in a few years. So they'll pay us to have that 30-minute call and learn something from us personally. And then we have a lot of expenses relating to the real estate or all the different software that we have to make sure social media works well. We also pay some of our people. So all these things are different expenses and it's a lot more complicated than a normal person with a regular job would have. So we have a very detailed tracker where I list every single expense that we have. Lately, we've been incorporating QuickBooks into our process so that things are starting to get automated. And we have a bookkeeper and CPA to make sure that everything is done properly and we're getting the biggest tax write-offs that we can.
Now going back to the income part, it can get very confusing, especially because we have so many different income streams, and even just affiliates alone, that can be broken down to so many different income streams as well because you have many different products you're recommending. So the idea is when we're breaking this down by the different sources, we can look at how much we did in the past year and we can kind of look at what our goals are in the future. Like what are we going to do for 2024? What are we going to try to hit for Q1, 2, 3, 4? Now, granted, we are traveling right now and we have been, doing stuff like going to a language immersion program, doing all these different things. So we aren't as on top of it with our business as we normally are, I would say. But I think that that's like just kind of like our life goal type of thing. We're not trying to hustle all the time and try to get like billions of dollars. Like that's not our goal.
Yeah, so our goal is to live a very comfortable life and not worry about money. We don't necessarily need to have hundreds of millions or billions of dollars to do that.
We're looking for a life of freedom where we're really being our true selves and being able to do what we want to do. And that's another important thing that you want to do with your partner. You want to discuss your financial goals and then kind of work your way backwards to see what are the steps to get there. And that's why it's important to track your income and expenses. You need to cut down on your expenses. So these are discussions you want to have with your partner to hit the financial milestones that you want to hit.
I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is secrecy. So if you're like getting a loan for a car or you're getting your credit pulled for opening credit cards and you're not telling your partner, have a huge credit card bill that you're not paying off because you're scared of the repercussions, that's not okay. Like you need to tell your partner when these things are happening and work together as a team to solve these issues.
So like he mentioned, you got to be open with your credit score, with your spending. Anytime you get a new loan, what your goals are, all these different things, it's very important to be on the same page with your partner. There can't be secrecy because I think that's where a lot of the financial problems come to place. And when you guys have different views on like spending and stuff like that, it can cause a lot of issues. So that's why it is important to figure out a compromise. Kind of like what we did with our fund money. Like you have to have like a certain budget maybe for your own personal spending if you do want to have like some independent amount of money that you want to spend. Now, you also want to talk about those future goals like I mentioned. For example, do you want to have kids and how much would that cost? So you got to go over how much you want to save up for like daycare, for college, if you want to be funding those parts, right? So these are conversations you want to have with your partner. So as you're budgeting for this, realize that it does usually end up costing more, especially with kids. So having a high yield savings account, having an emergency fund is very important. So make sure that you're continuously putting money into your investments and having that 6-month emergency fund in case anything goes wrong. You want to have those numbers clearly defined about how much you want to spend on, for example, a house, for a kid, if you want to put them through college, all that type of stuff. So have those numbers ready and then figure out your plan to get there. So for us, we do have like a recurring transfer to our brokerage account. So then we make sure that we are dollar cost averaging and hitting our goals that way. We also have talked about what we want to do with our real estate portfolio. He has goals about buying multifamily properties that are larger complexes. I have goals about Airbnbs overseas and stuff like that. So we have things that we're trying to work towards, and we share those constantly about what our future may look like, what our ideal life looks like.
So I hope you guys found this video to be very useful. I think finding the right partner is very important for your financial future. If you're with the right person, your finances will soar. If you're with the wrong person, you're gonna have nothing left. So hopefully you're able to have a good conversation with your partner to be able to have the same financial goals.
If you guys like this episode, let me know in the comments below. Smash the like button, subscribe, hit the bell button to be notified of my latest videos. See you guys in the next one. Bye.